Hello, my tip for today is to read Michael Kostroff's Audition Psych 101. It's a book and you can have it, I have it on Kindle, so if not, I would just show it in physical form. And I love it. It's just so many ideas that I've written down about it, but if I had to summarize the one that made me really like, oh, that's a breakthrough, is don't be nervous as an actor. Like, you're allowed obviously to feel nervous, but here he said this perfect analogy. If you're walking into the dentist office and he's nervous, that makes you nervous. You're like, wait, I thought you were the professional and I'm just gonna be here and you're gonna, like do your thing that you've studied for, right? And you do know what you're doing, right? In the same way, casting directors, producers don't want to deal with a nervous actor because they want an actor that will take care of them. And that's what you're there to do, really, to bring this energy of like, relax. I got it. You guys are going to have a great time. We're going to work together, beautifully and get the best product for you, because I understand how important this project is for you. I understand how much time and effort and how many risks you've taken to either fund this or put all of your energies into it. So just having that energy of, I'm here to take care of you, and that actors, it's okay to feel nervous inside. And then he does go on and on about how to deal with that, how to like look at things differently, which is greatly appreciated. And then he says you can just mask it because you're there to do a job. If a lawyer just, is there representing a client, they might feel nervous, but they don't show it because they have a duty to perform and deliver what's best for the client they're representing. And as a bonus, I wanted to also add some other tips that he really said. Obviously, casting directors just are people like you and I would say, and a lot of people think that casting directors have the final say on who gets cast, but it's not. It's producers who, and the people that have invested the money say, casting directors can, they're the ones bringing in the people, so they also have to keep their job and make sure they still get hired and stuff, and it's freelance. So, I just think that everyone in this industry needs like a pass, because, we're all here trying to do our best, live the best life for film creation, and we all love this and we all want the best films to be made and to be a part of that world. So I'd say there's like, if anything, just be kind, which is what it's always said. But at the same time, if someone's being a bully, in the rare case that could be a situation, you don't have to take it. But also I would suggest don't react, because it's just, you don't need that bad karma. It's like, if someone's throwing stuff at you, you can just like shimmy away, like just shimmy away. Like that's definitely not to do with me. Like you know what I mean? It's like, that's something that they need to deal with, and by you engaging in it, it's like, it just, there's just no point. You wouldn't win anything by engaging in that. And knowing your worth, and finally, I did want to briefly mention the idea of paid work versus unpaid work. I think at the beginning, if you don't have a show reel, then by all means, I think ultimately it's like inside, like just listen to your gut, listen to your heart. What is it, if there's an outstanding opportunity and you're like, oh, I've always wanted to shoot in this location, and they're covering expenses, and I've always wanted to be there, and I think the production company is amazing, and you know what, it just sounds like a really fun thing to do, and I can afford taking that time off from work, or I can afford, spending that time not getting paid, then do it. That's your gut telling you this is going to be great. And once you're there, as always, like, if you've said yes to something, fully committed, because you're there to give, right? We are there to, this is what I wanted to say about him. Acting consultant. Michael Kostroff, that is an outstanding concept. As actors, when we go into the audition room, we are acting consultants, right? The majority of the time, because I've also been on that side. When I got to produce 2 short films, I was like, I don't even know exactly who this other character is. Like, I know who they are, but like, I really want an actor to come in here and tell me what this version of this character is, because I want to be blown away. I want it to be the best thing ever. I want it to be even better than I've ever thought it could be, because 2 people thinking together, like, ooh, can create, 1 + 1 = 3, like this thing that 2 minds together can create something that neither of them had initially envisioned, but it's much better. So what he said was acting consultant. So a lot of producers, cast and directors don't really have a clear idea, or they just want to be wowed. They want to be surprised. They were like, oh my gosh, I never envisioned the character this way, but it's even better. Go and nail it in the sense that do the best you can to serve, because living is giving. You feel outstanding when you are just able to give. It's like going into this mentality that, I've had so much training and experience, and, my gut's telling me, like, let's just go this way. And obviously you do a ton of research beforehand, even for the smallest things, because you're representing a craft. It's kind of like if you're this master glass blower, creating these beautiful vases or vases, and you want your work and craft to be the best it can be, not because of what the other person might think, right? But because of the art and the beauty that you're creating, and because of the respect you have for the work that everyone's put into it, and because of you have respect for your own craft as well. So acting consultant, I freaking love that. And it goes hand in hand with the idea of supporting and being there for the production and taking care of it. Doesn't that just magically change so much? So those are my tips, things that I've learned recently while reading this book. I'm still reading it. I'm still taking notes, because we're lifelong learners. This says no gimmicks, no colorful scarves or props when you go into an audition room. Yes, trust. If you have a limited amount of time before an audition, just go full out in the research of the character and getting the words, the consonants. I was just doing a Shakespeare text audition. Man, Shakespeare's just great, because it pushes you so much to really take into consideration every single aspect of the text, that then when you, in contrast, you're doing a contemporary text, you have so many exercises that you might not have to do, because I guess it's not as challenging as a Shakespeare text, but or maybe it is, but you just learn to have a level of respect for text with Shakespeare that perhaps you haven't seen if you just do contemporary text. So for instance, with Shakespeare exercises, I'll do another video for Shakespeare exercises, but yeah, come in as a pro, and when faced with abuse, stand up, don't gush. Because he was saying, like, just look at an audition as if you're like meeting someone on a date. You don't want to date someone that's like, oh my god, I love you so much, blah, 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 because you're like, whoa, this is kind of creepy, yeah, that's a bit much, but just be emotionally intelligent in the sense of reading a room. I'm not saying that you we can all get it wrong, but I do think that researching someone is exceedingly helpful, and maybe it's just in the back of your mind and you come in like a pro and stuff like that. Again, this dude's been auditioning for like huge things, so I'm just at the beginning, so we'll see. I think this will come in really handy once, with bigger auditions. No one wants to deal with someone that is apologizing a lot. I was like, oh, that's huge for British people. And no self-defacing humor. That's huge. I saw that so many times at drama school, and I think I definitely did that at the beginning of drama school. It's like, he gave the example of this actress who was really good, and the director was like, hey, can you do that in a German accent? And she was like, well, we'll see. And then she delivered the speech in flawless German accent, but so Michael then went to speak with the director, and he was like, did that kind of throw you off? And the director was like, yeah, because then I was nervous because it made me think that she couldn't do the job, when actually she knew she was going to nail it. But even if you don't know that you're going to nail it, just do it, because ultimately it's not your job to decide for them whether you're good enough or not. That's another thing. Don't ever invalidate yourself. Like, when you're auditioning to a bunch of jobs, like, let them decide whether, they think you're appropriate for the role. Like, at the beginning of my career, I would just cancel myself, because I was like, oh, oh, they say they're looking for this. I'm probably not exactly what they're looking for. If you fit the age range and sort of the race that they're going for, and you know, certain requirements that they put in there, who's to say? Just put yourself out there. You know, you might surprise them. Obviously, if they're asking for something, you know, like male and you're a female, and you know, then, you know, like just, or if they're going for someone's 60-year-old and you look like you're 20. But yeah, apologies about the female male. More so nowadays, it's like it's open, but so more so the opportunity for you just to present yourself to as many things as possible. This exercise was really cool. So he said sometimes there's an exercise in a scene where you have the text and you're just you actually just begin by saying, for instance, how you're feeling. So for instance, right now, I feel like there's a bit of pain in my back because I've been carrying tons of like books and things in my back. For some reason, that really hurts. And I have some like pain here as well because I've been doing a lot of self-tapes and just a lot of time in front of the lights, and that can be kind of put a little bit pressure here. And I also know that I need to rehearse something for tomorrow. And and then you go into using just numbers, but expressing how you feel. So still speak about how you're feeling, but use numbers. So 4, 5, 3, 7, 8, 9, 2, 1. And then you just start using the texts. Calm, focused. No one wants to deal with the things that an actor can be. So basically, in this case, it's quite strange because I'm talking about how physically I like feel, and then, but you can also, I think he started with the physical. I don't know if it's not okay to do the emotional side of how you're doing, and then you move on to just numbers, which means that you're separating the things your mouth is forming with what you're actually saying, like the meaning behind it, and then you go into the text. Right? But as you go into the text, you're still describing just how you're feeling. So for instance, if the text says, hello, how are you? I could just be like, hello, how are you? Instead of, you know, and it's just very real and honest because it's happening. And the interesting thing is like, there's a certain magic when you, like for instance, I was auditioning for a role that was based on a historical figure, and I was having the hardest time just like getting to grips with the reality of the character, because I understood sort of, you know, just broadly speaking, because I didn't have that much time to prepare, but you know what had just happened before. I understood who she was talking to, where, you know, what are the stakes, where she was, the relationship with the character. You know, I had done all the analysis, and then I just kept on doing research about this person until I fully understood it. You know, not fully, but I understood part of her essence. And then what I love to do is have a chair in front of me that's open, or just anything at this point. But I think it's helpful if you're first starting, just have an empty chair. And this is an exercise that I created myself, at least a few years ago. And if I have picked it up from somewhere else, and deep apologies, I just always thought I had invented it. I might have not. So you just imagine the character in front of you, okay? Whether they're walking, lying on the floor, sitting in the chair in front of you. What are they wearing? What's their posture like? Is there like, you know, are they kind of crooked with their back, or are they sitting straight? Are they nervous? Are they tight? Are they relaxed? Where do they look at you? Do they look at the floor? Are they like shifting? Like, are they, you know, and just take them in as a person, because ultimately as an actor, that's what you're doing, right? You're just a conduit for someone else's story. It's such an honorable role in that way, you know. You're sort of holding someone's spirit for a moment and just delivering their story when they couldn't say those words in this, you know, fictionalized recording space like a set. And that's when I finally saw the character and then I just got to ask her questions like, what do you really want here? You know, because I really felt like I hadn't gotten that. And she was like, you know, what I really want is, and I was like, okay, is there anything else I need to know? Yeah. And this is how I actually feel about myself, or just like the situation. And it was just like so empowering to not, like, yes, you could say that, you know, my imagination, you know, after like all the research I had done, my brain just like, my imagination just condensed, you know, downloaded a version of that character in front of me. And that was just like my imagination talking back to me, telling me what it is. But I'm very generous. I mean, it's because I once saw an interview with Meryl Streep and they were asking, what's your method? And she was like, oh no, because I mean, this is how I remember it anyway, but TVI Actors Studios, and she was like, no, I don't want to say it because I have a feeling that it might go away if I do. And I actually think that the more we share, the better, because I'm always learning, and I'm always learning from actors that have, you know, gone through so many years of studying and getting it wrong and learning and having the dumb tax, which is just making mistakes. And so if I can help someone else, you know, I'm always, you know, I've benefited from Michael KOSTROFF, so I want to help someone else. But that's truly life-changing for me, because that seeing the character, because it's not about you, right? It's not about me. It's not Alessandra Rodriguez or Laura de Sommer's rendition of this character. In a way it is, because it's through my imagination, I guess, but I like to think that it's actually the essence of the character itself, whether they were a historical figure, a real person, or a character from the script. They're still very real, because, you know, they were born through someone's imagination, or they're there in the paper, and therefore they're real. And then that just takes the pressure off me, because I'm not having to create it. I just have to, I guess, in a way, understand it on a cellular level. Do you know what I mean? Like, just, it's not channeling, it's more like allowing it to breathe through you. Do you know what I mean? Is that channeling? Anyway, I don't think it is. It's more like, yeah, you know, that person, that life needs yourself as a vehicle to tell their story. I kind of now sounds like a ghost story, but it actually is exceedingly helpful. I'm always grateful and humbled when, you know, these sort of, I don't know what you would call them, like essences of beings, share their time and their like energy with me in creating character, because that's what it's all about. It's a spiritual thing, okay? It's a spiritual game for me. Yes, tons of commercials and stuff. They're just like, whoop, let's do our best. And yes, it's a lot of it of just go with it, you know, like get a prompt, run with it, don't think about it, boom, 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 go with your gut. Yeah, there's a lot of that. And then on the other side, there's a lot of more spiritual or in-depth characters. And so I think it's important to have training in both. There's more like commercial side, which is amazing, fun, upbeat and creative. This one's a bit like magical and stuff. This is just for you actors, okay? Because I did once think like, why isn't there like more resources for actors? And then I was like, well, if someone were to just put a camera and record some of like the crazy stuff that goes into drama schools, you'd be like, that's insane. But we need that. We need that to fully develop. So I'm just here to throw and, you know, give as many things that have helped me calm and focused. This is very true. Go into the audition as the essence of the character, because you're still you. You're not gonna like be completely in character, but especially if it's something really out there. But definitely hold that essence with you as you present yourself, because you're making it easier for the other person, for the panel that's kind of seeing, can this person actually pull it off? Like, is this the right person? Not can they pull it off, but does this role come naturally to them? Because it's just easier to have someone that already looks and moves like the character, just do it, rather than having to jump in your imagination thinking like, can they sustain that? Does it come that naturally to them? So you just help them by having that essence, and it's just, I think it kind of sounds like makes the job easier. So how you enter the room is incredibly important. He calls it the curb appeal, you know, that someone knows if they like a house or not from the 7 seconds that they leave the car. You know, if they're going with the real estate, they leave, you know, they exit the car and walk up to the house or the flat. Those 7 seconds can tell them whether they like the place or not. Right, the difference between amateur and professional, he says, is that whether you're bringing something to share and you're going to take care of them, or if you're asking something of them, like approval or, yeah, basically, or validation, like, yes, you're a good actor or whatever. Yeah, you're not, that would be the amateur. The professional is bringing something like a gift. You know, you've been working on this for some time. You've been playing with the script and having a great time, hopefully. If not, you're still giving it your best. And that's a gift, because I love you, because, you know, I love you not in a romantic way, but it's because, you know, I honor you and your work. I love it. Yes, this is true. Like this is so crucial to make the final point on taking care of people. Have you ever been in a performance where the performers themselves seem anxious, and so you as an audience member can't relax? I despise that, because, you know, there's nothing more amazing than sitting back and relaxed at the theatre, because you know the actors know it and they've got it, and you're just like, I'm here to enjoy. But I think, I don't know, I look forward to going back to the theatre now after the pandemic. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm here to assist. Oh, this was insanely helpful. When they ask you, like, how are you doing? Don't do what I did, which was like describe everything of like how physically you're doing. They don't want you to be accurate. They're just being nice, and they have tons of other people they're seeing. So you can just be like, I think it's an interesting balance of not, like, you're not trying to be rude or anything, but you just like understand that, you know, it's a job and whatever. Or if they ask, oh, where are you from? And you could just say, oh, I'm based in London, and that's it. You don't have to say, oh, but, you know, my parents were originally from, and then because it might be interesting chit chat, but for them, like, but you're not, yes, you're selling yourself, so that chat is important to know, for them to know that you're a normal person, and you know, they'd have a fun time working with you. Ultimately, I guess what you're selling is your service of your audition, right? But he did say this, you know, he was like, at the beginning, when he was asked, like, where are you from? He would just say, like, oh, I'm originally from New York, but then I moved to LA, and then I was actually born somewhere else, and then people were like, and then he realized that there wasn't, he didn't need to be so painfully accurate and detailed with that. Don't prepare in the room. Ooh, see, that was really interesting, because there's been many times where I went in, no, not many times, actually, there's a lot more times where I did I felt like I did the right thing, but there have been times where my mind's like, you should have done something else, which is, I went into the room, but I wasn't 100% with it. And I love this topic. I actually need to definitely do another video about this, which is the emotional management, right? Emotional management. We as actors know everything about emotional management, right? Because if a character needs to be crying, we get there. If an actor needs to be having the best day of their life, if a character needs to be having the best day of their life, we will convincingly get to that place. So we know how to manage emotions, and we know we can switch them, you know, like this. And we can do that to ourselves as well by playing awesome music, you know, prepping ourselves to get to that state that's needed for nailing an audition, for taking care of them. Whatever happens outside, done, you know, once you're in your car or in your home, you can just like decompress, have ice cream, whatever. But yeah. Or pat yourself in the back saying like, that was amazing. I don't care what the, you know, outcome is. Another thing, if new actors don't know this, I actually was told this by tons of actors, and I really appreciate it. Once you are done with your text, your script, rip it apart and throw it out. This is a text that I used. I didn't print it out. I just wrote it out because it was shorter, and also because I don't have a printer yet. and this was the Shakespeare one, and I just tore it out because that's like, it's done, and it's just such a mental thing of like, I'm not going to think about this again. Moving on to the next audition. Always, like, there was, I spoke with this really nice girl, and she said, yeah, I want to do acting as a hobby because maybe I'd get too hurt if I don't get the thing that I'm really going for. And I'm saying, if you know in your gut that there's nothing else that you'd rather be doing, and this is what you want to do, you know, step onto the, you know, or be on your be front-footed rather. And what changed everything was, for me right now, I can show you, but I'm sure the light's gonna get disconnected. But basically, I'm auditioning. My goal is to submit myself to like 19 jobs per day, but obviously it doesn't happen every day because sometimes I'm on set, sometimes I have to do other responsibilities. But that's a clear goal by the end of the month, 380 submissions. I know it's crazy. But, you know, I'd rather have, you know, shoot for the moon, land among the stars, than what I was doing before, which was applying to only the jobs that I thought I was perfectly suited for, because that meant that the number of auditions I had was so small, and my, you know, the stakes were higher because I hadn't been practicing so much. Therefore, each audition was like a thing. And then because I really cared about the outcome of that audition, you know, then, you know, more, not nerves, but yeah, or the wanting of it got in the way of just actually doing it. So by just doing so many auditions, in the end, you get surprised by the ones that call you back. Like, so far, I haven't seen any correlation. Like, some, I write a whole like 2 paragraphs of saying like, oh, you know, this is great, and I think, you know, we match because blah 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 blah. And sometimes I've gotten a job just by putting my bio and CV and showreel. Nothing personal. So I would say always research the production company that this is another thing that I spoke with another amazing actress, and, you know, she's phenomenal, like, has all her links, all her information. And when applying to something, it's like this, you know, if I don't have time and I still need to get my submissions in, I'll just apply. But if I can, which is the majority of time, I do research every single production company I'm going in. And definitely if they ask you for an audition, because you want to see what their vibe is. You know, it's like if you're auditioning for something like the RSC, which is the Royal Shakespeare Company, and they are a stage company, right? And they do Shakespeare, versus auditioning for a YouTube comedy podcast improvisation scenario, you just better know how you're going to dress and show up. And, you know, dress is, I guess, not as important as just the mental preparation of the end, you know, the energy that you're going with and stuff. And the more you know, the more prepared you are, because as with anything in life, there is a sphere of influence. And I would love to just like draw a little circle to explore the situation so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. So, okay. This is life, right? And this is the sphere of influence. This is everything that you can control. And these are all the things that you cannot. Oh, sorry. So this is the sphere of influence. And these are all the things that you can't control, right? As an actor, the things that you can control are your headshots, how much education, how many times you go to class. You can control your research, you know, research the company you're applying for, research the character that you're auditioning with, you know, research more acting tips and talk to other actors, or get the agent that works well with you and that you work well with them. There's so many things. And so literally just focus on what you can influence. Everything else, you know, it's just like waste of time. It really is, because there's nothing you can do about it. It's like, you know, I grew up in Peru, and, you know, Peru is a place where there are tremors and an earthquake. So if I were to spend my whole life and, you know, every waking minute thinking, oh, what if there's a tremor? What if there's a tremor? And you're like, okay, that is outside of your control. What you can do and what is in your control is, okay, I'm going to prepare my emergency backpack, which has a light bulb and some canned food and maybe a jumper and did I say flashlight and batteries and stuff like that, and water. And just make sure that you switch out the things every few months or however long shelf life of the things are in the backpack, and you put the backpacks near the front door, and you know that everyone in the house knows what to do in case of an emergency. Those are the things that are under your control. Making sure that your house is well built, under your control. Everything else, forget about it. Just move on with your life. Go on to your next audition. Going back to the lady who was looking at it as a hobby, I'd say if you don't want to look at it as a hobby, then front-footed, making sure that you only focus on the things that you can control. Everything else, do your best to get it out of your system. And the best way to get it out of your mind is to just focus on the next audition in front of you. And if you are submitting yourself to so many jobs, you will have auditions in front of you. Or at least you will be on set as an extra if you're just doing it from the very, 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 very beginning. And even if you're doing from the very, very, very beginning, there are classes. And if you're going to classes, then you have scenes to prepare. And if you are doing student films, unpaid jobs, then do that. Oh, did I mention? Yeah, I mentioned the unpaid versus paid. So if you're starting out and you listen to your gut, and if you're starting out and you need a show reel, that's amazing. Do it, the unpaid thing. For instance, if you have, I have drama, a lot of drama on my show reel, and I have UK and US accents. And I was looking, okay, so maybe I could do one with an international accent, a Latino accent, and what about action? So I'm now working with a director, and he has a production company, and he wanted to do some show reel stuff. And so it's free for me to act in the scene, and it's free for him to hire the actors. And so we're working together, we're collaborating, we're doing something. So that is okay. And then you just have to tune in with yourself. And so if you're getting a lot of paid jobs, and you check your finances and you're like, okay, I'm getting tons of paid stuff, therefore let's see because if you start doing that and then you book something unpaid, and then you might book something paid on the same days, and then you have to say no to the paid thing that you were accepted to because you had already agreed to something that's unpaid. So that's just a risk that you have to keep in mind. That could happen, that could not. For instance, like I accidentally applied to an unpaid thing because I am only doing paid things, except for this, mutual collaboration with this director that I know, that we're friends. It's not like someone that I don't know. I wasn't specifically looking for a show reel scene, but I really connected with this guy. I think he's an outstanding director, and it's like hanging out with friends, but doing an outstanding job in the end. So I thought it was a win-win situation. But again, it's just like checking in with yourself, like, where am I? Do I need the show? Do I need the footage? Do I feel like this is an outstanding opportunity? And can I give them, my best situation? Can I give them the best and do it? If you think, oh, I am getting tons of paid stuff, and I wouldn't feel comfortable if, I book something that's unpaid and then I have to, keep that, whereas I know that I'm saying no to a paid acting gig. You just have to just make sure that you're okay with that risk, and it's worth it. And I'm wishing you the very best. Those are the things that I've learned recently, and I read, a book about acting for 10 minutes every day. I recently started, and I also read about finance 10 minutes a day, and I read self-help, personal development 10 minutes a day. And that equates to 30 minutes a day, which I think it's pretty decent. The least we could do, I think, and not the least, but I think it's great. So I encourage you to read as well, and wish you all the best. At drama school, I stopped reading a lot because I realized that a lot of my really, really, really talented friends, in my mind, which wasn't the sanest during drama school, because there was a lot of pressure to perform, and I was going, I thought, against my family's wishes, and that was just a lot of pressure. So ultimately, I guess what I'm trying to say is just read. My mind thought that, all actors that were really good were just socially very smart, emotionally very smart, and perhaps not that academically oriented. And I think just, that's not true. I think everyone has their own path to being an actor, and I do think that reading is actually one of the best things in life, really. I read this quote that someone that doesn't read has no advantage over someone who can't read, and that's huge. So take that, that privilege, I guess, of being able to read. And if you're dyslexic, there's the audiobooks as well, which I also use. Or actually what I use all the time is in Kindle, I just do the speech section of like text to voice, and it just reads it to me. So, and I love that because at the beginning, especially when I did the switch from not reading a lot to reading, my brain had been primed for social media, which is instant gratification, boom, 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 boom. And so your brain struggles to focus more. And I see with daily practice, like now I can focus well, but before it was quite hard. And so if you put the voice, text to speech, and you're just reading with it, that voice has a constant speed. So it helps you that even if your brain sort of wanders off or wants to wander off, you're still listening to it, and you have two sources. So you have the voice and you have the text. So it's harder to get distracted. So many tips. If you have any questions, please let me know. And the last thing is that when I was first getting into acting, I was like, I'm never going to listen to someone who isn't famous. I don't want to listen to someone who hasn't made it yet, because maybe their advice isn't that good, because if they were that good, then they would already be famous. And that might be your choice. That's obviously your prerogative. It definitely was mine. Back then I was like, which is not true. I honestly, I took notes of everything but I would tell myself, I'm just going to listen to the most famous people. And that fair enough. Like, go listen to the Hollywood Reporters Roundtable. Oh my gosh, that's golden. The reason why I do these videos is because I've had the privilege of training in one of the top schools, and I know that's not available for everyone. And I also know that not everyone wants to do that. And that doesn't mean you don't want to invest in being an actor. No, it's 3 years of full time, whereas you could use those 3 years to be applying and working in the industry from the get-go. So, it's a choice. It's a choice like anything, or like most things, I guess. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to give back, because when I was starting out, I felt so lost. I didn't come from a family of actors, so I felt incredibly lost and alone as well. I think I was quite sad as well. And I think if I can help someone, I want to be there for others. I've paid the dumb tax. I've made mistakes or not. Even if it's just experience. Through experience you learn, right? So yeah, just I'm here for you. Just send in questions or whatever. If you've stayed until this point, then I congratulate you, because you're really passionate about this, or you really love me. Either way, I love you too, and I wish you the very best in your career. Have an outstanding day.